Are 49ers fans making the same mistake with Ricky Pearsall that they made with Trey Lance? Plus, some breaking news that's very sad for one of the broadcasting's legends. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast, part of the Pro Football Insiders. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera alongside Michelle Majuk. What's up, Michelle?
Hey, a little bit later on this Friday, makes me having a mimosa a little bit more acceptable. So here I am.
Right. Now all of a sudden you're comfortable with it at what is now 2:20 on the East Coast here. I appreciate you rescheduling for my doctor's appointment. Thank you very much. We're going to talk about our friend Trey Lance, because I think people are doing something with Trey Lance, or did something with Trey Lance, that I think some people are doing with Ricky Pearsall that I don't like. But first, unfortunately, we got to start on kind of a downer. I don't want to do it, but the news just broke before we went live. Greg Papa stepping away from his duties with KMBR because he has cancer, unfortunately. He released a statement. He said, "I've been diagnosed with cancer and I'm currently undergoing treatment. As I fully focus on my treatment and work towards a full recovery, I'm stepping away from my broadcast, but look forward to returning soon. In the meantime, I'm handing the Sports Leader broadcast ball to my co-host and friend, Greg Silver, and I know that he and his guest co-hosts will keep our listeners entertained and informed. I'll be listening. Thanks to everyone for your prayers. Good wishes as I begin the fight. Go Niners." Obviously, this is sad because it's sad when anybody gets cancer. But from just a pure broadcast perspective, puts KMBR in kind of a tough spot, because who are they going to get? Like, the preseason games start in 2 weeks. This is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I hope for a nice, fast recovery from him. And yeah, that's sad.
I always loved Ted Robinson, who was before Greg Papa. He was just from 2008, I think, and he did it till, I want to say 2019, if I'm off the top of my head. But, if you go back and listen to that, Alex Smith with the play of his life when he made that comeback against the Saints in the playoffs, that was Ted Robinson. The pick at the stick when Navarro Bowman intercepts Matt Ryan, and he returns it for a touchdown, and that gets the Niners in the playoffs. Like, that was when he says, Navarro Bowman runs it back 7 miles for a touchdown. Like, I just love Ted Robinson. I don't know what he's doing or if he's even a possibility, but this is a bummer, and this is going to be weird, because now it's like it's going to be a different voice, and we all kind of got used to the San Francisco whenever the Niners scored. So it's going to be a little weird this year.
It is going to be weird. Now, I'll say I don't typically listen to radio broadcasts ever.
Oh, that's a shame. See, I'm an old radio man. You know this about me, having worked at ESPN Radio and NBC Sports Radio when that was a thing. So, like, I'm fascinated, because I kind of know, like, behind the scenes, I'm sure KMBR is like, what are we going to do? Because other broadcasters kind of have their travel schedule sort of set up by now, right? Because there's a lot you got to plan out when you're doing stuff. It's not like there are a lot of guys just sitting around waiting to do work. So I don't know what it's going to be, but obviously we wish Greg a speedy recovery, and hopefully he'll be back behind the microphone sooner rather than later. And hopefully this is just a short fight, and we're all rooting for you, Greg. So best wishes there. Before we get to the main topic of the show, Speaker, super chat here, or member for 18 months, says, FB is here. Also, when is JD/JTO REBP film? That's a lot of letters and a lot of initials, and I don't know what you mean. Football is here. Also, when is JD/JTO? I assume JT O'Sullivan is happening, or Johnny Dell and JT O'Sullivan with Brock Purdy film. I don't know what you're asking, but we did some Brock Purdy film breakdowns, Speaker. They're up on the YouTube channel. You can go and check it out. There's a separate film breakdown playlist if you want to see all of the film breakdowns that we have done. But I do appreciate it. Ooh, Heineman on Twitch says, time to call Guy Haberman. Guy Haberman would be a good Greg Papa fill-in, so that's a good... This is why I like the Twitch fan. They always have good suggestions. Despite Levin's insistence that we don't like the Twitch fam, I do. Strawberry reacts. Hear about the death of NFL Network and Red Zone. Well, it's not the death. There was a pending sale. ESPN is buying NFL Network, essentially, which obviously we know may impact you, Michelle, because you work at NFL Network. I just don't want Stephen A. Smith on Red Zone. Can we just not have that, please?
I just don't want to lose my job. Can we not have that, please?
Obviously, that's most important. Comment. The chat today is alive. I like it. I appreciate it very much. All right. Let's talk about your friend and my friend, Michelle. The man who single-handedly got me to the television last night in the Hall of Fame game, Trey Lance. Debut with the Chargers. Looked pretty good. 13 of 20, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. What'd you think of our boy?
He looked fine. You know, it's a Hall of Fame game. It's a preseason game, but Hall of Fame, there's literally no one playing on that Detroit defense that is going to be playing on the actual field probably in the regular season, or very few guys, if at that. So sure, he had that nice throw to the rookie, the 5th round rookie. I don't know what to take away from this. I'm interested to see what you have to say because you seem very excited. And I want to know what mistake you're talking about here with your title. Don't make the Trey Lance mistake with Ricky Pearsall.
So first of all, like, I was just happy for Trey Lance. Nice to see him do well. I think that the take that, Jim Harbaugh fixed Trey Lance is hilarious to me. And, people are like, see how happy Trey Lance is. And look, it took a coach that believed in Trey Lance. It's like, what does that mean? Like, what did Jim Harbaugh specifically do that you think turned Trey Lance around? Trey Lance is the same quarterback he's always been. Okay. Jim Harbaugh is not a wizard. Jim Harbaugh has never had a quarterback that he's coached in the NFL make a Pro Bowl, I believe, I don't know if Justin Herbert ended up making it last season, but like, Jim Harbaugh is not this quarterback guru that he's made out to be. And I just think the narrative that Jim Harbaugh somehow fixed Trey Lance is pretty premature.
These are the best 5 quarterback performances from the preseason last year. It's from Jake Plummer, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Brett Rypien, and Tyler Huntley. Those are the best 5. So, like, relax. It doesn't matter. It's preseason. Everyone can look good in the preseason. Remember Kenny Pickett? Thought he was the next, like, Joe Burrow out there.
Who was that was high on Kenny Pickett in the preseason?
Oh, no, listen. I hated Kenny Pickett so much. I cried when the Steelers drafted him, but he did get me excited in that preseason, and then failed miserably.
But the mistake that I think people are making, and my Trey Lance opinion has always been the same and never wavered, which is the dude had only started 4 games with the 49ers. We don't know what he is yet. And I think the same applies to Ricky Pearsall, because there's a lot of people that are very skeptical on Ricky Pearsall. A lot of people, I see him in the chat every time his name comes up. Oh, he's a bust. He should never have been a first-round pick. He's terrible. He's fragile, all this stuff. And I just think, like, hold up. Let's just wait until we see this person out on the field for an extended period of time.
You definitely have to wait. And I would have loved to see Trey Lance get a full season and see what he could have developed into. I don't think we're ever going to get that from Trey Lance. And like, I don't think he's ever going to get a shot. And honestly, at this point, he has to do the work on the side and just when he gets a shot to be a starter, ball out. And he didn't do that with Dallas when he did get his opportunity. I mean, Dak Prescott was out last year. My dog just sneezed big time. Dak Prescott was out for a large chunk of last season. He still couldn't even really get on the field. He got to start one game, was miserable. Like, so it's on him too, right? You're not getting your opportunity. You have to take your future in your own hands. And he's not sure. He had a fine game last night. I don't know.
He did. I mean, you can't knock it. Like,
yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. He had a nice, good deep ball. He threw a couple touchdowns.
He had one good play.
One good play. I didn't see any wobblers, too. I thought he looked good. Good for him. I'm happy for Trey Lance. He's not going to get an opportunity in LA, unfortunately, because Justin Herbert is there. So that kind of stinks for him. But I'm sure it had to be nice for him. But I was more thinking of Ricky Pearsall because of how many people I feel like are skeptical of Ricky Pearsall. I count you among the skeptics too, Michelle, because you did not like that pick in the first round.
No, I thought it was a reach. No, it doesn't mean that I don't think he can be good. And now we're well past that draft. They've already used the draft pick, whatever, right? And I do think that he should have been a second round pick, and they could have gone with another position in the first round last year. but they need him this year, right? Like last year was a head scratcher because their wide receiver room and was stacked. Plus, they had the best receiving running back and one of the best receiving tight ends in the league. So it was like this felt like a luxury pick for a team that needed help elsewhere. But now they're looking pretty smart because they ended up really needing a wide receiver to step in here.
And Ricky Pearsall was at the podium yesterday, and I thought he gave a really sort of a peek behind the curtain as to what it was like for him last year. So let's play a little Ricky Pearsall. It's kind of long, but I think it was interesting, and I think it was good.
I feel like, in the beginning of the season, it was definitely difficult for me, just dealing with multiple injuries, going through, the incident that happened and I just felt like I was behind the 8 ball. I like to tell this, I like to say that I rolled out of bed and started running routes because I damn near did. You can't really, rehab a gunshot wound, you know what I mean? So I basically rolled out of bed and started running routes week 7 or week 8. So, just continuing to get those reps, I think it was for me, that from that week 7 on, it was like that was my training camp. Those practices in between before the games, that was like my training camp for me. So expanding on that, getting with Brock and trying to get the man coverage looks that I would have got in training camp and trying to deal with that and figure it out. A lot of success comes from a lot of failures. So you gotta be able to fail and learn from that in order to actually have success. So I think that's something I did. That's why I like to say I'm a practice player and I love practicing because going out there you get to try shit and you get to learn from that. I just cuss. I realize that. That's just how I talk. But yeah.
So that's a long explanation from Ricky Pearsall. He also said, Michelle, he has flashbacks to the shooting every single night when he goes to bed.
Oof.
And I don't think that people realized what it was like for him last year. He misses all the preseason, basically. He gets shot. He comes back. He has to learn one of the most complicated offenses in the entire league. They're basically not practicing by the time he comes back because they're so beat up that all their practices are very, very light. And he's still having mental, issues trying to deal with and process everything that happened to him. And I think that people were really quick to doubt him, really. Like, essentially, for me, he's still a rookie.
He's absolutely still a rookie. I mean, the fact that he was able to come back at all last year and play, right? And he wanted to come back even sooner than he did. But coming back in week 7, only missing 6 games after how close that happened to the start of the season. Plus him talking about the mental aspect of it. It is crazy. And the fact he's still having, well, I mean, I would be too, but having these flashbacks every night, that has to mess with his mentals. So hopefully he can get the help he needs there to overcome that PTSD. But yeah, I mean, it's a crazy thing that happened to him last year. Like, we don't have any historical, like, I can't look at my stats, right? Like, do my research and be like, well, how will this affect him? Like, we don't know how this is going to affect him long term. It might motivate him to be even better than he would have been, but I'm like, it's hard not to root for this kid. Like, I'm rooting for him to take over this wide receiver 1 role. They need him to too. Like, it can't be Juwan Jennings being the top target guy in this offense, or even at the wide receiver position. Like, for them to be truly like a special offense, it can't be Juwan Jennings being the wide receiver 1. It has to be Ricky Pearsall taking that step up and becoming that alpha guy for the 49ers.
I agree. He needs to be wide receiver 1 while Ayuk is out. That's what he was drafted to be able to do, and he needs to fulfill that promise. But I just, like, hearing that yesterday, and then with the whole Trey Lance stuff, I was like, damn, man. And it was so funny, Michelle. I wake up this morning, and what do I see from ESPN? Boy, do we write quarterbacks off too soon? Are we too quick to jump off the bandwagon? I have been saying for years that we don't know what Trey Lance is, and people have been coming for me, hounding me, calling me stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. All this stuff, just because I said we don't know one way or another, not because I said Trey Lance is going to be a Hall of Famer. And then he has a good preseason showing. And now the national media is like, maybe we gave up on him. Jim Harbaugh fixed him. It's hilarious to me.
And now I don't think the preseason showed us anything. I think it's silly. Like, he's not playing against guys he'd be playing against if he starts in the regular season. And I'll say, like, it's hard. Trey Lance is in a really tricky situation right now because I do think it's hard for a team to trust him to be the backup, because he's not the guy that has the experience, right? Like, you want a guy behind your starter that has the experience that you can throw him. He has to just be thrown in. And we're talking about Trey Lance, who is raw coming out of college. That's that was the thing that frustrated us a ton with the 49ers, right? They knew they were drafting a raw player who didn't even play in the FBS. He played in the FCS. Like, it was going to take time and development and patience, and they didn't give him any of that. And then since they didn't do that, he still will never get that time to learn and develop. So having him be a backup does seem silly to me, because you're throwing in a guy who's super, super raw, just out there, and then like he never knows when he's going to play either. It seems just like a really bad, his career went down a bad path. I feel bad for Trey Lance. I feel bad that the 49ers selected him, because I do think if another team took him, took their time, developed him, you don't know, right? Like if Jalen Hurts went to a different team besides the Eagles, like if Lamar Jackson did, if Josh Allen, like if the Bills weren't patient with Josh Allen, there was a lot. Oh my God, PFF was hated on Josh Allen so hard. They wanted the Bills to stick with Tyrod Taylor. They said he was better. Like, you got to move on from Josh Allen. Like that's what the media was saying. If you're not patient with these guys, you might, there's just no reason to select them when they're raw like that in the first place. It's kind of like what the Colts are doing with Anthony Richardson. Why did you take him? Like, if you weren't going to be patient, it doesn't mean he's going to end up being good, but you have to be patient if you select them that high.
And we're not saying that Trey Lance would be Josh Allen. Just the point is sometimes guys take time. Foot has a super chat, says, easy on the Trey Lance hype, but I also wouldn't be smug when I have a life-size Purdy sticker on my wall, not like the 49ers have Allen or Lamar or something. Well, first of all, I don't have a life-size Purdy sticker on my wall. I do have. Yes, I know. I'm not saying like, oh, Trey Lance is fixed. All I'm saying was he looked good last night, and it was just hilarious to me that while I've been saying, hey, we still don't know what he is because he's barely played, all of a sudden the national media was saying the same thing after people were coming at me and, calling me an idiot and all that stuff. That's all I was saying. I'm not making any Trey Lance proclamations here.
No, we learned nothing about Trey Lance last night.
Right.
Nothing.
He looked better. He was not playing against anybody that's going to be any good.
What's so sad is that we're like, he didn't throw a wobbly ball.
He threw
he's an NFL quarterback. You shouldn't be throwing wobbly balls.
He threw 2 touchdowns, and it was fine. It was fine. That's all. He also wasn't throwing to people that are going to be on NFL rosters either. I think
he actually was, though, because they played all their rookies last year. So Trey Harris, their second round guy, was out there. He's going to be a starter. That Robert Smith guy, or not Robert, what? Keandre Smith something. The 5th round pick is getting all the hype, but he'll get playing time on the field too. So he was actually playing with some guys that will be playing.
Okay. Well, then I stand.
And Marion Hampton played for a little bit. The first round.
I actually was not like, he's a guy that got a lot of love. I didn't, I was hoping that he would do some crazy stuff. I didn't see any of that, but it's early.
Yeah.
Preseason week 1. All right. People in the chat are talking about this, and it is the biggest news. So I guess we're going to throw it out there. The whole Micah Parsons situation that he has basically said he wants off of the Cowboys. And I'll relate it to the 49ers this way, Michelle. As frustrated as we get with the 49ers and how they do business, it is light years better than how the Dallas Cowboys do business. What they have done with Dak Prescott twice and CeeDee Lamb, and now with Micah Parsons, the way Jerry Jones negotiates is so horrible and is so much worse than how the 49ers do it. I know I got mad about a lot of what the Niners have done, but nothing has come close to this disaster with the Cowboys.
And the fact that Jerry Jones came out and was like, even if we pay him, doesn't mean we'll have him because he's always hurt. Like, right. He doesn't have a long history of injuries. He missed a few games last year. Still easily led your team. I mean, dominated in sacks compared to everyone else. No one even had like half the sacks that he had. He still leads the league in quarterback pressures since entering the league, despite having way fewer pass rushes than the other top guys. And you're apparently saying he's injured all the time. If he's doing that, being injured, I mean, then really pay the guy, right? Because what if he's healthy? But like, he's just, Jerry Jones is just not smart. And there's no reason that, like, this is what frustrates me so much about teams, right? You should have just paid Parsons last offseason when he was eligible. Like, there's no reason to wait when a guy is an all-pro at his position, an absolute beast star. There's no reason to wait because at this time, last offseason, there was one edge rusher making more than $28 million a year, and that was Nick Bosa at $34 million. Now there are 5 or 6 edge rushers making more than $35 million a year, with now TJ Watt and Myles Garrett making over $40 million a year, which is obviously what Parsons is going to want because he's at their level and he's way younger. Like, so yeah, you waited too long. You're stupid. Teams are stupid.
You know what? It is hilarious about this whole thing. Now, and I want to say, I fully expect Micah Parsons to be on the Cowboys, though they're going to pay him. Like, I fully expect it eventually to get done. But, what did everybody say since Trey Lance has been a topic on the show today, right? Wow, if the 49ers just kept their pick, they could have had Micah Parsons and Nick Bosa, right? Wouldn't it be wild if somehow the Niners ended up trading for Micah? They trade 3 first-round picks for Micah Parsons and eventually end up with Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, and Mac Jones, who was supposedly the other quarterback that they wanted in that draft. It'd be the craziest thing ever.
I will say, I want to ask you a question. Do you think if they didn't trade away those picks and, they got a Parsons or one of the, that top of that draft, it was really good players, right? It was going to be hard to miss on a player right there. If they didn't trade away that pick and trade away the next, first round picks for the next 2 years, do you think they'd have a Super Bowl? Do you think they would have won one of those Super Bowls or won the 2023 Super Bowl?
I don't know. I don't know if they make it. I mean, it's hard. I don't know what else they would have done at quarterback. Do they draft Mac Jones? See, that's the thing. They probably weren't going to take Micah Parsons if they didn't make that deal for Lance, right? They needed a quarterback unless they would have just stuck with Jimmy. I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know, honestly. I don't think so. I'll say no.
Okay.
They don't have the greatest.
If they just knew they were going to get Brock Purdy, right? If they knew it was going to work out, it would have changed a lot of things.
Yeah, that's true. Like, they still could end up with Brock Purdy. That 2021 draft, man, you had Jamar Chase, you had Jalen Waddle, you had Penei Sewell, Patrick Surtain, Devontae Smith, Micah Parsons, Rashawn Slater. Like, holy hell, the top of that first round is loaded.
Absolutely loaded. I mean, that was a great draft class at the top of the round.
Heineman on Twitch asked this question. Would you trade Bosa plus picks for Parsons?
Yes.
I would not.
Yes.
You would?
Parsons does it all. Bosa is literally just a pass rusher. I think Parsons is a better leader too. There's something about Nick Bosa. He rubs me the wrong way with his leadership skills. He's too quiet. He doesn't bring up the energy. And then also, like I said, Parsons can play multiple roles and he's dominant. He can play all over the field.
I think you're slighting Nick Bosa. I think Bosa's really good against the run.
Well, Parsons still has more quarterback pressures than Nick Bosa, while having something like an absurd 500 fewer pass rushes.
That's fine. I still would rather have Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa doesn't cause any problems. Micah Parsons caused. Well, I guess Bosa did wear the hat last year.
But also, what problems does Parsons cause besides wanting to get paid right now?
No, he never shuts up. He's always talking crap about people on that stupid podcast that he has. I'm over the podcasts, man. We don't.
If the 49ers had Parsons right now, and someone said, "Would you trade Parsons for Nick Bosa?" You would say, "Absolutely no." That's just the truth.
Could be. Yeah, that may be, but we don't have Micah Parsons. We have Nick Bosa, and I think Nick Bosa is really damn good.
He is really good. That wasn't the question. The question wasn't, is Nick Bosa good? Is Parsons better? Yes, Parsons is better.
I don't think he is.
Okay. You could be wrong. That's fine. Sit there in your wrongness.
It's just mean. You're just a mean person today. A couple other things I wanted to get to. I know since we're going to talk about things that Michelle's going to poo-poo, we've talked about the safety position with the 49ers, and Jair Brown is one of the guys competing for one of the spots. He hit the podium this week, Michelle. He said something I did not know. Apparently, in the Super Bowl, late in the Super Bowl, in the fourth quarter against the Chiefs in 2023, he tackled Travis Kelce and messed up some nerves in his shoulder that basically affected him all last year. So I did not know about that. Like that, he was never on an injury report for any of that. So that was interesting to hear. But also, in a very kind way, he pretty much threw Nick Sorensen under the bus last year and basically said, the reason that he had a down year was Nick Sorensen. Does any of that give you any hope at all that he may be better this year?
I don't love it when players come out and say that. I'd rather they just let their play speak for whatever. Like if he ends up being really good in training camp this year and the coaches see it, or, his play is much better this year, then let us come to that conclusion. Like, okay, Nick Sorensen, right? Because like you think back to, Devondre Campbell, remember, was like when he left Green Bay, he was like, oh, it's all the coach's fault. All the coach's fault. I'm going to be great again. And it wasn't the coach's fault. He was just a bad player, right? And so I don't know how much you should actually take this into consideration for expecting a bigger year out of Jair Brown. It could be that, right? And we think that could be it. We were not inspired by Nick Sorensen's coaching at all, right? So it definitely could be the truth. I just don't love him, basically saying that.
Some things you don't necessarily have to say out loud. And he didn't mean to. Like, he didn't say Nick Sorensen. What he said was like, Steve Wilks was my guy. I love Steve Wilks. It was a different system last year. So I want to be clear, like, he did not throw Nick Sorensen under the bus. But when you read what he said, that was sort of the takeaway, was that for whatever reason, he was not really a match or a fit for how Nick Sorensen was calling the defense. And I do think there is a lot of thought that Robert Saleh can kind of like wave a magic wand and make everybody better, which I'm sure he'll help, but he's not a wizard. Like, he's not just going to fix everything.
He's definitely not. And he needs these young guys to step up, right? Like, if they whiffed on these draft picks, Saleh cannot just make magic out of nothing. And there's, these units as a whole right now, like as all the groups, they're all worrisome besides maybe the cornerback position, right? That's the only one that we feel they have a pretty solid core overall, but outside of Fred Warner, linebacker is very nerve-wracking. The whole defensive line outside of Nick Bosa is nerve-wracking. They don't even know who their starting safety is on either of their starting safeties are, right? So, there's going to have to be some luck involved here, and they're going to need these rookies and these young guys to really, really step up and help out Saleh, while Saleh can also be a big upgrade to Nick Sorensen. Like, both things can be true, but he's just not, he doesn't have the same type of talent out there right now.
No, he absolutely does not. By the way, you mentioned the corners are okay. Well, both starting corners are hurt right now.
They need to go practice on a different field. Like, whatever is happening in San Francisco, whatever the water is made out of, like the injuries that are happening with this team is insane.
Whatever the water is made out
of. Whatever's in the water.
Hydrogen and oxygen.
Whatever is in the water. There's something wrong.
Oh, man. Sorry. That just made me chuckle.
They didn't drink their milk when they were kids. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, look, we got news yesterday that Diamador has got a hip thing that's been bugging him lately. He's going to miss at least the next 2 practices. Don't love hearing that. Renardo Green, we know, is going to be out till around another couple weeks till around the joint practice with the Raiders. I believe that's August 14th. So that's another 2 weeks, until they think that maybe he could get back in the mix. Juwan Jennings has a calf injury.
It's the same thing as last offseason with all these injuries. And then they look like they were healthy to start the year, but then the injuries started back up. They have to figure out what is happening with this team, whether it's the staff, that works with, the training staff, the field. Like, they can't just keep saying, oh, we're just having unluckiness with injuries right now. Like, something is happening.
It's extremely frustrating. Luckily it hasn't been McCaffrey or Trent or any of that. But the names are.
They're already so weak at depth. They can't be losing these guys. And Juwan Jennings, as much as I say I don't want him to be the wide receiver 1, they still need him. They still need him. It's Jacob Cowing's already hurt. Like, you really are just depending on Ricky Pearsall taking this huge leap forward. George Kittle and CMC, like, they need Juwan Jennings to be out there healthy. Now, do you think the calf injury is serious, or do you think it's more like, I want my contract?
That's what I thought it was, but now it seems to be serious because there's no timetable for his return. He had dealt with it in the spring as well. And even Matt Mayoko at first was kind of like, yeah, maybe it's a quote unquote injury. But now even he has come around and be like, no, this seems to be like a legitimate thing. Gameplan.exe on Twitch says they did completely overhaul their training staff like 2 years ago. That's correct. I think they need to do it again. I think that's the point, is like, keep changing it until you get it right. Remember, this team has been a top 10 most injured team every year except one of the Shanahan regime. Even the year they made the Super Bowl in 2019, They were incredibly banged up. Both starting tackles missed a month of the season that year. So they have never had good injury luck. And so Jawan Jennings we're waiting on. We're waiting on Jordan James has a knee that he's day-to-day. He's going to be reevaluated this week. Another guy that's sort of banged up. And
it seems to be so much of like the soft tissues or like the ligament. It's not like it just seems to be like really it's the hamstrings and the calf and look into the field. I think that's what they need to do.
Strawberry Rex points out other teams have had guys suffering more major injuries, and that is true. Luckily, knock on wood for the 49ers, they haven't had any major injuries, right? These are frustrating injuries and injuries that are going to keep guys out weeks, but weeks is different from months and seasons. And so luckily they haven't had that. I know that other teams have injuries. It's not like the 49ers are the only one, but it is incredibly frustrating. And John G says, Dre Greenlaw is still drinking SF water. He got hurt at Broncos camp yesterday. I think Sean Payton said he doesn't expect it to be a major thing, but that was part of the reason they moved on from him. And part of the reason that they've had some of the injury problems that they've had in the Shanahan tenure is because they kept relying on hurt guys to not get hurt, and they kept getting hurt. Like Jason Verrett, they kept bringing Jason Verrett back. The guy could play like 1 week a year. So, part of, I think, what they're trying to do with this iteration is they're trying not to do that. They're trying to let guys that have injury histories go in certain cases, not all cases. Trent Williams is still around. Christian McCaffrey is still here. But they've made an active effort to try to get guys that don't have health problems, like Ricky Pearsall, for example, never missed a game in college. Like, of course, now he gets to the 49ers, he starts missing time, but like they're trying to do better. It just hasn't always worked.
Yeah, that's also a big concern. It's like Ricky Pearsall never had issues staying healthy whatsoever in college. All of a sudden starts practicing on the 49ers field and with this staff, and he's dealing with a bunch of injuries. And obviously the gunshot wound had nothing to do with the 49ers, but there has to be something. They have to not just let this go, because it's every day someone is suffering an injury that's going to keep them out at least a couple weeks. And yeah, that's great that it doesn't seem like it's going to be these long-term like season-ending injuries, but this is how we felt last year. We're like, well, these guys should be back to start the year. And then they kept getting in like over and over the season. They still didn't have them. Like, even if you have small injuries, they could still keep you out for a while if you have a bunch of them.
And they could linger too. So that's something to keep an eye on.
And then you play worse. You don't play as well. Yeah.
You want a little positive injury news? Here you go. Curtis Robinson has been activated from PUP. He's set to practice. He tore his ACL last year. A lot of people were hopeful on him, that he might be able to contribute in some way. Well, guess what? He is here. He is playing. That's a little positive injury news. And it was positive that Ricky Pearsall got back out on the field after his day off, and that Micah Williams got back out on the field yesterday after his day off. So there are some positive things. I do want to point that out. So that's reassuring, because I was a little nervous about the Micah Williams thing. But okay, it's not all bad in San Francisco. We can acknowledge the good and the bad.
Can we acknowledge they still have not done anything to fix their safety position?
I think they think it's not as bad as we think it is what the explanation I would give is. Much like the offensive line, right? Like, most people think the offensive line is terrible. They're saying, hey, it's not as bad as you think. Seemingly at safety, that's what they're saying, right?
I don't know if I can find a worse safety room in the league.
They've had opportunities to sign guys, clearly. I mean, Julian Blackmon was sitting out there forever. He's not now, but Justin Simmons,
every time he makes a big play this year, I'm going to just take a sip of like sadness. Cry in my mimosa.
A sip of sadness.
Cry in my mimosa every time Blackmon makes a great play.
Maybe it's hard to tell in preseason. Maybe they think Jair Brown is going to be good. They like Malik Mustafa. The only question with Mustafa is he's coming back from the ACL injury. But I think if he wasn't hurt, I think they would look at him and be like, that's our guy. That's our starter. We're comfortable with that. And it would just be the other safety spot where they're sort of unsure. Now, of course, things are up in the air, and you've got a bunch of Jason Pinnock, Marquise Siegel type of guys.
Richie Grant.
A lot of unknown there for sure. But at least they're healthy.
Do we have any news on the Jake Moody competition?
The Jake Moody competition. This is a perfect illustration of how difficult it is to see things at training camp. Yesterday, the report was Both guys were 4 for 4, except maybe Jake Moody missed one because they weren't sure if his last field goal went inside the upright or not, and the referees didn't signal. And the reporters are so far away from because of where the 49ers put them, that they couldn't see. So I guess both guys were perfect. It sounds like they have the exact same stats so far through training camp. So no, there's no update on that. Although I continue to think that a tie will go to Jake Moody. If they're equal, I think Moody's keeping his job.
Yeah. I mean, if they're equal, they have to let Moody keep his job, right? It would be silly to move on from Moody if they're equal, especially because we have seen good stints. I mean, it's a very short career so far, but it's not like his rookie season was fine. It was good. Before the injury, he was okay. It's not like we've seen him be the worst. So if they're tied, then you got to keep with him, but you still have the risk that he could lose you some games before you finally move on. But that doesn't mean Greg Joseph wouldn't lose you games either, right? So we just have to trust that they're making the right decision there. I was just looking up when the 49ers play their first preseason game. I hate that we have to wait till Saturday night. I just want to see them. I just want to watch. I don't want to wait that long.
My son was fired up. He was like, wait, the Hall of Fame game is tonight. And he was like, can I stay up and watch it? My son is 10 years old. So we put it on. And every time they like showed the field or showed like guys warming up, he was like, yes. And I was like, man, what is he going to do when the Niners are actually playing in the preseason? But I get it, man. I was just as pumped. It was fun to watch football. Did you see the first down Hawkeye thing that they have now instead of the chain game? It's phenomenal.
I watched it, but I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention.
Oh yeah, they did.
And I really only watched like the first few drives. And I was like, okay.
I watched it. I watched.
I was so excited during those first few drives, but I was like, all right, I'm good now. I had other things I wanted to watch.
That first down thing is so much better than running the stupid chain gang out there. It's boom, 2 seconds. He got it. He doesn't get it. They put the little illustration up on the screen. It's like, yes, finally we're in 2025 instead of running two guys with two sticks and a rope out there.
I kind of liked it though.
Remember,
am I old now that I'm like, oh, I like the old stuff. I don't know.
You're on your way. That's the first sign, Michelle. That's how
I know. I don't want things to change. I like it.
Remember the index card?
No, that was great. I think that was the start where people were like, all right, we got to get more advanced now.
I've still never seen anything like that, but I was into it. I enjoyed it very much. I can't wait for the 49ers to get back out on the field. Even the joint practices, I think, are going to tell us a lot. We'll have a lot of news coming out of those. But so far, so good. Everybody, please just stay healthy. I'm begging you, please. We don't need any more injuries. I hope that Jordan James is okay. The Juwan Jennings thing is man. And he's a guy that never got hurt. Now, for him to be battling this calf thing, and a calf thing can become an Achilles thing. It's a very dicey situation. But we're almost to the preseason. I can't wait for that. And I'm just going to be crossing my fingers every week at this point. I feel like we've heard a lot of good things about the rookies, Micah Williams and CJ West. Like, I've heard enough to think that there is hope there. So now I just want you to stay healthy and get on the field in the preseason so I could see it with my own eyes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I really need. I need all these young guys to stay super, super healthy so that they're out there in the preseason. We can kind of get a glimpse of what they look like. And they also just get reps, right? That's what they need. I don't want these young guys to be missing time. They need the reps out there. And we're going to be able to see a lot of key contributors playing a lot of preseason. At least we should be seeing that anyways.
Get ready for me to be super excited about all these guys and for Michelle to poo-poo all of them. That's generally the path that we've taken.
Listen, and like preseason game 2, where there's more starters playing, I will be into it. And I will not poo-poo if they do a good job.
I'm going to save that clip. I have a feeling that may come back to haunt you a little later on, but we will see. Anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of the show. Thank you, everybody. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. I promise if this is your first time checking us out, we will be here all week, or all year, I should say. We're live every single weekday. Once the season actually begins, or really once the preseason begins, we're pretty much live every single day of the week. So give us a chance, subscribe, come back. I promise you'll like what you see. As always, Michelle, what do you got going on this weekend?
So I'm going to try to be chill this weekend because next weekend I'm going to Vegas. So I gotta get my body ready, you know.
Are we still doing a show on Friday?
I'll let you know.
Aha. See how she just slipped that in?
Well, I just learned about this yesterday. My wife surprised me. We're going to a Kelly Clarkson concert for our anniversary. We're going to Vegas. It's going to be great.
Cool. All right. Well, that's certainly a change from your recent history of nothing on the weekends.
Yeah.
I'm going to see Fantastic Four on Monday, so I'm excited about that.
Wow, crazy.
Yep. Who knows what could happen? It's a trip to the movie theater. I may even sneak in some candy instead of buying it at the theater. Woo, boy.
Oh, you're so naughty.
Look out, world.
Bad boy.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody.
Bye, y'all.